Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a story that feels like it's straight out of science fiction. We're talking about a potential breakthrough in fighting pandemics, and the answer isn't in some high-tech billion-dollar lab. Nope, it's hiding inside something you probably have in your kitchen right now. So let me just ask you this straight up. Could the key to fighting a global pandemic be a chicken? I know it sounds a little bit crazy, right? But stick with me, because we're about to unpack how this humble bird could be at the center of a low-cost, super fast solution to protect millions of people. Alright, so let's set the stage. When a virus spreads across the entire planet, our response has to be just as widespread. But the COVID-19 pandemic really showed us a huge crack in our global armor. You see, it's not enough to invent a solution. You have to get it to everyone, everywhere, quickly and affordably. Speed and access, they're everything. And if you want to see what that gap looks like, look at this number. According to the Journal of Global Health, fewer than a quarter, less than 25% of people in low-income countries got even one dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. That's not just a statistic. That's a massive vulnerability for all of us. This experience taught us a really important lesson. For any future solution to truly work on a global scale, it's gotta hit 4 key targets. It has to be safe, it has to be effective, it needs to be dirt cheap, and this last one is the real kicker. It has to be something that can be made locally, on the ground, without a massive industrial complex. And that, believe it or not, brings us right back to the chicken. A team of brilliant scientists, led by Dr. Daria Mosley-Rosen, looked at this huge problem and had an incredible thought. What if the answer isn't some brand new, complicated technology? What if it's a simple, elegant biological process that's been happening for, well, forever? So what's the magic here? It all comes down to something called immunoglobulin Y, or IgY for short. Now, here's the beautiful part. When a hen gets immunized against a virus, her body creates these amazing protective antibodies. And then she does something truly remarkable. She packs those antibodies directly into the yolk of her eggs. She's basically creating a little golden sphere of pre-made protection. And the process to get this protection is just wonderfully straightforward. Step 1, you immunize a hen, not with the whole virus, just a tiny harmless piece of it. Step 2, the hen does all the heavy lifting for us, laying eggs that are now full of these specific IgY antibodies. Step 3, you just separate those antibodies from the yolk. And then finally, step 4, you turn the purified IgY into simple nasal drops. That's it. It's a 4-step recipe, not a complex manufacturing process. So you might be thinking, okay, but isn't that just a vaccine? And that's a great question, but no, it's actually different. A vaccine gives you active immunity. It's like it trains your body to develop its own superpower, which is amazing, but it takes time. This method with IgY gives you passive immunity. It's like someone just hands you the superpower fully formed. The antibodies are already made, so they start working immediately, right in your nose, which is the front door for so many viruses. The advantages here are just wow. First, it's cheap and incredibly fast. The hen starts laying these special eggs just 3 weeks after she's immunized, and she can keep it up for almost a year. Plus, because it's passive immunity, it's safe for pretty much everyone, even kids, the elderly, or people with compromised immune systems. You don't need a strong immune response because the hen already did the work. A single hen becomes a tiny, feathered, antibody-producing factory. Okay, so the idea sounds fantastic on paper, right? But an idea is just an idea until you can prove it. The team knew they had to show that these IgY nasal drops weren't just a cool concept, but that they were actually safe for people to use. And they moved at lightning speed. Just think back to March 2020. The world was shutting down, there was so much uncertainty, and that's when this idea was born. By October of that same year, they were already starting a phase 1 human trial. It took only 7 months to go from that initial idea to finishing a human safety trial. That's just an incredible pace, a real testament to global teamwork. And the results? They were fantastic. The drops were proven to be safe, nobody had any serious issues. But here's the really exciting part. Back in the lab, they tested these antibodies against the virus, and they found that they can neutralize not just the original strain, but also major variants like Delta and Omicron. This showed the approach was flexible and robust. But this next part is where the story goes from very clever to absolutely revolutionary. The team wasn't just happy that the science worked. Their real mission was something much bigger: to make this whole process so simple that it could be done almost anywhere, even in places with very limited resources. And how'd they do it? By taking the lab and bringing it into the kitchen. I mean, literally. They looked at the standard chemicals you need and found household replacements. So instead of hydrochloric acid, you can use plain old white vinegar. Instead of a fancy lab buffer solution, you can just use baking soda. They were building a recipe, not a complex chemical formula. But here is the most genius part of all. There's a critical step in the process that usually requires a centrifuge. That's a machine that spins things really fast and costs thousands of dollars. The team's workaround? A regular kitchen food processor. They figured out how to make it do the same job. A food processor. I mean, come on, that is incredible. And what's the result of all this brilliant simplification? Just look at the cost. To make one dose in a commercial facility, it's over $5. But with their do-it-yourself kitchen-friendly method, the cost drops to 66 cents. 66 cents. That is a complete and total game changer for global health. So, let's recap. The science works. The process is simple. The cost is ridiculously low. So what's next? Well, now comes the biggest hurdle: getting the funding for the large-scale studies that can prove in the real world that this actually prevents people from getting sick. The team is now looking for partners to help them take this amazing idea across the finish line. And as the project leader, Dr. Matsu Rosen, puts it, the vision here is so much bigger than just one virus. The hope is that this can be used to stop the spread of all kinds of airborne viruses, the ones that could become the next major pandemic threat. And that really leaves us with a final, powerful question. We have a technology here that's safe, it's simple, it's incredibly cheap. It really makes you wonder, could the key to stopping the next global disaster be hiding in plain sight, waiting for us inside a simple chicken egg? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.